Hey guys, welcome to this channel. This is Abhishek Mamadi. Welcome to the first video of this course, Getting Started with Apache Spark. In this video, we will discuss the basics of Apache Spark and the internals of Apache Spark. If you haven't checked out my introduction video, you can find the link in the description below or click on the above video. In this video, I have covered the concepts that I am going to cover in this course, Getting Started with Apache Spark. Let's get started with the main video. In this video, I am going to give high-level introduction to Apache Spark and PySpark and the different features of PySpark and the runtime architecture of PySpark. We will deep dive into how Apache Spark works internally. As I said in the introduction video, Apache Spark is the most powerful big data tool, which is a parallel distributed processing framework. And the core power of Apache Spark is to handle huge amounts of data and distribute the task across different nodes. As the data is increasing day by day, companies are using Apache Spark to handle huge amounts of data. And the best part of Apache Spark is it supports these following languages: Scala, Java, Python, and R. And the Python is an interface for Apache Spark in Python. Right? Similarly, for R, you have Spark R, which is an interface for Apache Spark in R. If you know R, you can leverage Apache Spark using Spark R, which is also an interface for Apache Spark. In this video, let's spend time to understand the features and internals of Apache Spark and PySpark. The main aim of this video is to understand the underlying concepts which will help you to relate to the high-level operations better. Let's say if you are applying filter and if you are applying group by or you are doing a partitioning of data, unless you understand the bigger picture, you cannot use the right set of partitions or right number of partitions. That's why in this video, we will discuss the internals of Apache Spark. And Apache Spark supports the following things: Spark SQL, Spark Streaming, MLlib for machine learning, and building machine learning pipelines, and GraphX for graph processing. Let's go into the features of PySpark. As I discussed, the data can be distributed across nodes and the task can be parallelized. And the data frames, the PySpark data frames are immutable. You can create a new data frame by applying transformations, but you cannot replace an existing data frame. And PySpark works on a concept called lazy execution. It uses DAG for computation. Unlike Pandas, in Pandas, when you run a command, it executes the command and gives you the output at the same time. But in PySpark, it creates a DAG, and when you apply any operation, it will compute the whole DAG and gives you the output. That is what lazy execution is. And then cache and persistence. Let's say if you want to cache the data to memory at some point in time, then you can use .caching. Or else if you want to cache the data at a different level, in that case you can use .persistence. Let's say you want to cache the data at memory and disk level or only disk level. In that case you can use .persistence and give the storage level that you want to cache the data. And then fault tolerance, so it can recover the data if it's lost. So let's say one of the Spark executor is killed. Even if you lose the data, you can easily recover the data using the DAG. You can compute the DAG and you can get the data. It also supports SQL. If you know SQL, then you can leverage the Apache Spark. And Apache Spark supports several modes of deployment: standalone, Apache Mesos, Hadoop Yarn, Kubernetes, etc. And these are all different cluster managers. But for this course, we will use local to run Spark on our laptops or Colab because we don't have any cluster setup. I will give you more details during the creation of Spark session in the next video. And also, one of the main thing is data connectors. So Apache Spark supports many data sources. You can read data from HDFS, Amazon S3, or DBs like PostgreSQL, Cassandra, etc. Apache Spark supports many data sources, so you need not worry about that. Now let's go into the runtime architecture of Apache Spark. This is the Spark application, and this Spark application works on a concept called master and slave, where master is the driver and slaves are the workers or executors, as you can see here. So when you are working on a cluster, you can use Spark submit command to launch the application on the cluster. I will show you how the Spark submit command looks like. This is the example of Spark submit command. In Spark submit command, you can specify what's the cluster manager, either it's Yarn or Kubernetes, and deployment mode, and the number of executors, executor cores, executor memory. So you want executor memory to be 8 GB, and the Python file which has written in PySpark, and also the arguments that you want to pass to the Python file. In addition to this, you can also add the credentials to the different data sources. Let's say you want to read data from Amazon S3, you can add those credentials to the Spark Submit, and you can add a lot of packages that are required to the Spark Submit. After the Spark Submit, the driver program is launched and the main method of the code runs in this driver. And then it also creates Spark Context. As I said, Spark Context is the heart of the Spark application, which acts as the master of the Spark application. And it also establishes the connection to the Spark execution environment. So based on the configuration that is provided in the Spark Submit, so let's say the number of executors, number of cores, etc. So this driver program requests the cluster manager to give the necessary resources. So what cluster manager does is, so it launches the required resources. For example, 10 executors with each 8 GB of memory. So it launches the required executors. And one of the responsibility of this driver program is to transform the user code. So we have written the code in PySpark, and it will convert that user code which is written in PySpark into DAG and then convert them into jobs or stages or tasks. And then it schedules those tasks on the workers. And the responsibility of these worker nodes is to execute those tasks and send the output to the driver program. And this cluster manager will provide the resources if driver program requests any resources. So once the tasks are executed, it just sends back to the driver program, and driver program collects all the data and sends back to the user. So let's say, for example, one of the worker node is killed. In that case, driver program will get notified and it will ask cluster manager that it needs one more worker node. In those cases, driver program sends the same tasks or the DAG that is required to compute the same data or the lost data. Just to summarize, you run Spark Submit command and the driver program is launched and it creates Spark Context. And based on the configuration, the driver program asks or requests cluster manager to give the required resources, and this cluster manager launches the required executors. And then once the executors are launched, the driver program converts the PySpark code or the SparkR code into DAG, and then it converts into tasks. And these tasks are scheduled on the worker node so that worker nodes can execute those tasks and send the data to the driver program, and then driver program collates all the data and sends it to the user or store in a DB. This is how Apache Spark works internally. So understanding the internals of Apache Spark is very important in building scalable applications, because writing PySpark code itself is not sufficient. Syncing the code and the configurations plays a major role when it comes to handling big data. Let's say you are repartitioning the data into 5 partitions and you are mentioning 100 executors, then it doesn't make sense. So you have to sync the number of partitions you are making in the code and the number of executors that you are mentioning in the Spark Submit command. So that's why syncing between those is really important, and you can sync that only if you understand the internals of how Apache Spark works. And also one more thing is, even in the worker node, you can parallelize the task by specifying number of executors. So even the tasks that are being executed in single worker node are distributed across cores. So these things we should understand. Unless we don't have a bigger picture, we cannot write more optimized code. So that's the main aim of this video. In this video, we have discussed what is Apache Spark and PySpark, and the features of Apache Spark and the internals of Apache Spark or PySpark. And to remind you guys, PySpark is a interface for Apache Spark, through which we can write in Python. You can similarly write in R or Scala or Java, but the underlying concept remains same, which how Apache Spark works and all. I think we are good from theory perspective. In the coming videos, the focus will be mainly on hands-on PySpark. Thank you guys. That's the end of this video. If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and colleagues. Meet you in the next video of this course.